Through here? Yeah, so let's for this situation have our escape route. We're probably not going to make it go in this direction, right? So we're going to spin our apparatus around and have our escape route back to our safety zone going this way, right? So 500 gallons, 3 and 4 are threatened by firebrands. If you look at the fuel around house number 1, it looks fairly close, fairly tight, and we're just arriving on scene right now. So, Michelle?
How far is our backup?
That's a good question. I'm going to say, let's go 5 minutes. Again, all the variables that we have within this, right? So right here, house number 1, I think critically important to go make sure that nobody is there. We want to ensure that we have the person out of that building, or we're getting information from them if they're choosing to stay. House number 2, I think also we want to ensure that we have the people out of there. They look to me like they're in the most immediate risk of fire front impinging their structures, right? So, but it does look like we're going to be able to have an area, at least to start, where we can throw down some foam or some water onto these structures and try to wet the ember cast, the firebrands, on structures 3 and 4, knowing full well that we're in a watch out situation. If this is a rank 3, we're in a watch out situation. We have a pretty good buffer of grass, but is it that blonde tall grass that we saw at Twisp? If it is, that reduces the amount of time we can spend here. So your comfort level may just be rescue drive by all of these. Yeah. And that's okay as long as we document in our 214s what we did in this community. More of that neighborhood triage, look at it and go, okay, we're going to let this pass through, and then we're going to come back afterwards. But certainly, if you're comfortable and your crew is effective and efficient, whoop, getting a little bit of water on top of these and making sure all the residents are out, being pointed towards your escape safety zone.
And keep in mind what you're going to do with the livestock there too. You can see there's a cow in the corner. If you're going to do a rescue drive-by, maybe just open the gate up.
Yeah, on animals, when you're going out sort of further away and further out of the community cores, the reflex time on asking for help for animals is it's quite big. Yeah. So if you end up having, 3 or 4 horses in this small little paddock behind this house that you want to get rid of, like, you're going to open up that gate so that they can kind of, again, that huge herd of cows that's leaving. It's probably a good indicator that something bad is coming. So the horses and the cows probably want to get out of there, but how do we get them back? And if you let them out, document it.
Do you ever call SPCA?
So typically as an engine boss, you're going to have a strike team task force leader. Call them. Hey, we opened up gate in house 4. We let the cow out so that they could, go to safety. There's a pond down there or whatever. Just identify that, and then they can take that information and go up and say, and start trying to get that. So that when we talk about reflex time, it's from the action that you take to go all the way up the chain of command to then contact the appropriate resource and back. So hopefully in your, and Kim, maybe you can speak to this, is if you're going out to areas that have large livestock, is that something that you're getting going early on, identifying who's going to take the livestock?
Yeah, typically what we'll do is we'll put that off to somebody within the operations side of things, identify areas that have livestock that need to be housed and looked after, and then we'll get involved with Critter Aid or SPCA or whomever it is that. But we tend to want to put that off onto the EOC and let them organize and design what that looks like, and we'll fight the fire.
Yeah.
But we will let them know that, through communications with engine bosses or whomever, that hey, there is some livestock in this paddock. We need to get them either out of there, or we're going to open the gate, let them go, and then we can let Critter Aid know that they've been let go. Then they'll go and find.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, if we're doing rescue drive-bys or prep and goes, there's not going to be any other agencies in there. We're going to be the only ones.
Yeah. And making sure that if you are triaging in an area where you have time, you go through a gate, you open that gate and you go through that gate, close the gate behind you, and then come back, open that gate, close that gate behind you, because once again, if you go in and triage a house and it's, a large property with lots of head of cattle, and you leave that gate open when you leave, and the fire doesn't come there, and they've lost all the cattle out of their property, they're going to be fairly upset as well. So mark that in your 214.
And then they get onto the roads and cause another obstruction and a hazard.
Yeah, for sure. Any more on this one? Yeah, Luke?
Thinking as an engine boss on this. We talked about situational awareness, but out of all the slides you've shown, like in this module, I look at this one thinking we're pulling into this neighborhood. Our task force has gone up into this neighborhood, and you've been told to go up this street. And what you're encountering there with 4 structures right in front of you that are threatened or on fire or whatever, and how fast this is developing, you can see how your situational awareness, especially your firefighters' situational awareness, their field of view is just diminishing right to really a small aspect of this whole picture, right?
Yeah.
And how important it is as an engine boss to not always be looking at this house on fire, seeing what's behind you, what you're looking at the bigger picture, right? Because that's how, especially with a road system that wiggles back and forth like that, it would be easy to get a spot fire below you and you don't even know it, right?
Yeah, yeah, situational awareness at all times, lookout at all times, having those laces in place. And if you don't, it's okay to not go. It's okay to have that communication, especially if you're a single resource assigned to this area by your strike team task force leader, and you get up around the corner and look at that and go, nope, nope, I'm not going in there. That's okay. That's okay. You need to radio that back and communicate it, so then we can now adapt how we're going to move forward once the fire front has passed through. But yeah, I agree. You know, and it's hard to tell in a 2D picture and not see the fire behavior and the smoke and all that, but even topography-wise, is this a dip down between those 2 roads, or can you cut across it? You know, it's really hard to tell, but I think a great point to say, as you're coming in, I think many of us do it, is you're like, holy, look at that, house is on fire, and you start focusing on that, thinking, because that's, as a structure firefighter, a lot of times that's what we're going to. We're going to that structure that's on fire, and it's going to stay put, and we got to put it out, and there's no real other threat. So we kind of fall into that mindset, and so having to pull it back out and take a look at that and go, it's okay that that house is on fire. It might be okay if all of these are, but what's not going to happen is we're not going to get trapped in here trying to go and take care of that when it's already lost. Yeah, blinders for sure. So same area, you're sent into an area with 4 houses. Burning conditions are so severe you can expect the standing live fuels to burn readily. You have a full tank of water but no other resources available. Will be available until well after the fire is passed. Red flag, red flag, red flag. If we're burning all of the live standing fuel, then chances are the other fuel type we have that's going to be burning as well is going to be these structures, but not us or our apparatus, right? So this is something where our strategic goal is to stand back. Maybe there's work we can do because there's ember cast coming from that further down into the other structures, and maybe we're able to go ahead of that and put those out. But we're going to wait on this one until that fire front blows through these houses, and then we're going to come back to it afterwards, and we're going to take care of whatever is left over once the fire front passes through.
And just to speak on this is a good slide, but in a situation where you've been deployed to a wildfire event, you won't be put into a situation like this where you have a crowning type full encompassed fire by the ops section chief. You'll be put into staging, let that fire front follow through, and you'll come in behind it and do the black, work in the black, right? And we'll do what we can in that situation. This would be putting yourself in that situation in an initial attack in your own community or something along those lines that you're trying to avoid. So keeping that in mind too, that you're working directly into an ops through your task force leaders in your branch. But, and Kim, you can add to this if you'd like, putting firefighters in a direct fire front like this won't happen in the world of BC Wildfire Service.
And like in your own communities, you have the right to refuse unsafe work. So if you are being told to go to this place and you're saying, nope, I'm not, That's okay. You have the right to say no, and don't put anyone in harm's way because of peer pressure or that need to do something. The need to do something will come afterwards. That's when we need to do something, but not getting in the way of this. This community is taking a beating. The most threatened house number 1's in heavy fuels. It would require all your water to save it, and the other houses would be involved by the time you could be free again. I think we've probably beat this one a little bit to death, that we're not going to get in harm's way where we don't need to be. We'll come back and help afterwards. Obviously, if they haven't been made aware that there's the fire there and you can do a rescue drive-by because you're in the area, or you're bugging, let's say you're actually leaving along this because you've already made the decision to withdraw and you're going past houses on the way out and you see cars in the driveway, if you have time, you can make sure that the people are out or leaving. Same deal. Okay, so when structures cannot be saved, the events that affect your triage decision. So fire is making significant runs and will impact the structure. Spot fires in and around the structure are exceeding your suppression capabilities. There's limited water supply. Conditions are changing that affect your safety. You have more than 25% of the roof involved, or you have interior rooms involved. So depending on where we are interface versus intermix, this 25% gets thrown around a lot. Yeah. A structure will produce way more ember cast than the forest does. So if 25%, if it's more than 25%, but there's really nothing else that needs your immediate focus, and you can knock that ember, you're not putting the fire out, but if you can knock that down and slow down that ember cast, you're going to reduce the number of spot fires that are created ahead of this. So we want to make sure that we're using our water appropriately, and we're also trying to knock down the potential threat of that ember cast from a structure. Just
back to the summer, Christie Mountain, just down the road over here, we had that structure go up, caught embers, and went up. I was task force leader there, came in with, and our goal was just to knock the embers down. We knew we were going to put that fire out. Our water supply was gone by that point in time. We're just trying to control the embers because they're going downhill onto the houses below, which in one of my first slides, remember the 3 engines anchored in there, trying to prevent those houses from going. So that furthers what Chad's saying. Also, in my experience, these two right here seem to happen hand in hand a lot. Like usually you'll get spots coming in, and for whatever reason your water supply is dried up, there's no tender available, but that always seems to happen in tandem in my experience.
Yeah, so again, if you have forward crews that are actioning the fire or trying to do a prep, and you have someone doing tactical patrol, kind of keeping your egress routes open, and they get a spot fire, they go, hey, we've got a spot fire. They make appropriate action, but they communicate that up to the strike team task force leader. And then all of a sudden they have another one, and another one. It starts to exceed their ability to put those out. That is a trigger point now to remove yourselves from that area back to a safety zone until either that passes or the fire behavior diminishes. So consider all the factors. Use your triage report if available. Maintain your situational awareness. Be realistic about your goals and your abilities and your capabilities. Don't let emotions cloud sound judgment. So, you know what, I can just use up this last quarter of my tank because I'll be able to actually save this structure. Now we've dipped into our life safety, so we don't want to be doing that. So don't let emotion cloud your sound judgment. So the triage summary: evaluate all the factors that influence your decisions to stay and defend a structure, or to move to a structure that can be saved, or to move yourselves out so that we are in a safe area to watch this fire front pass by. And then we can actually re-engage. Your consideration of not only the current fire behavior, the expected fire behavior must be included in the decision-making process. So that's part of in your morning briefing. When you receive a morning briefing from your strike team task force leader, it's incumbent on you to now take that briefing and go and brief the 3 people you're responsible for on that apparatus. They also need to have the information on fire behavior, fire weather, probability of ignition, what your goals are, so what you're expected to do for that day, and then give them the opportunity to ask questions, give them the opportunity for clarifications. And if you don't have that clarification, go back up to your boss, your one single boss in the organization. And that way we have that constant flow of communication, so we're not, I think I understand that. We don't want to be thinking we understand stuff out here. We want to make sure we know it. So that's structure triage, and you guys have more to add. Yeah.
Thanks, Chad. And just on this piece too, a lot of this engine boss structure triage is somewhat intuitive for you as career fire or municipal firefighters, being able to understand and do quick triage. But you're also going to have the opportunity to work with structure protection specialists that really strategize behind the true meaning of the structure triage for the community and how we build out structure defense plans. And exactly what that means is you may be assigned to a specific geographical area that the ops chief or the incident commanders have decided to set up structure protection on, and you may be assigned to follow the structure triage protocols as you've learned here today. But you'll be working most likely with the structure protection specialist that can guide you through the proper paperwork, or if you have any concerns or questions about appropriate triaging, you'll have that resource available to you also. It's just that first or second operational period where it can get very chaotic and you have to make those quick and rapid decisions. Believe in yourself, trust your intuitiveness, and go with your gut instinct in a lot of cases.